Okay, so we took a moment to kind of look at this and we realized that hopefully they're doing a revision to the document, to the assembly guide. But basically what we have to do is that we have to mount this. Thing is, you can't mount the gearbox. Let's see if we can put some light on this here. You can't mount the gearbox directly to the PCB the way that was implied. Maybe we just misunderstood it, but basically what you have to do is, the thing is, if you mount the gearbox directly to the PCB, it's going to make contacts to some of the soldering points that are underneath it, like we were pointing out earlier. Well, in order to give you some room and some leeway there, and to mount it flush, you need to also mount these. This will be sandwiched between the PCB and the gearbox. So right there, you see how it goes in. Look towards the back, and it actually gave us a little bit of a spacer there between the PCB and the gearbox. Just what I was asking for earlier, it just wasn't evident. That usually happens with these types of kits when you're trying to build them and there might be some missing steps and whatnot. The good thing is that it was pretty easy to figure it out and move forward with this. So having said that, now we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to go over here and get a couple more screws. Now the rest of the screws, because we ran out of screws that are inside the to my gearbox kit, were included with the aluminum parts. So I'm just putting these back in, putting them off to the side, and going into this baggie here. Now this baggie actually contains some of those crimps that we were talking about earlier, and the wires and some washers. I also see that we have some kind of plastic snaps here. We have some washers. I'll just kind of take all these things out, see if I can use any of them now, or see if any of them need to be used. Since we're missing instructions from before, maybe there's additional missing instructions and maybe we can catch on to them. So we're going to go ahead and look at the manual again. So as for the manual, it said either orientation is fine. Like we were saying earlier, we wanted to have the screws from the inside and then have the nuts on the outside just because it was easier for us to move around with it. So we did that. So this says to go ahead and use the screw and the nut that's included in the kit. Doesn't say anything about washers or whatnot, so we're not going to include the washers for now. Okay. Screwed in nicely. Okay. So the next step is, it says to go ahead and connect the battery. So that is, let's see, where are we, battery? Here we go, to the top side or the underbelly. And it says to connect that with these little black plastic things, I believe, using the two mini rivets, basically what it's saying. So what I'm going to do, just because I know how this can be, I'm going to mount it to the top side. Okay, so just going to take a quick measurement. do is I'm going to position the battery cable in such a way where it's going to be running along this side or this side. So let me just kind of see which one would be the best, considering the length of cable that we have. Okay, so I'm going to just plug in these parts here. So the rivets are these little black things, and they have these connectors on them. You have to take them off first and put them into the hole that you're going to put them into. And then afterwards, go ahead and put the rivet in from the top. So what we did is, as you can see, we put rivets on this hole here. There's two in the front. We put on the inner, the one that's more towards the back, and on this one here. So this is the only thing I've seen that's different than other kits, because typically these go mounted in with a screw that's flush. I'm just going to give it a good push. And there you have it. This is mounted in place. A little skeptical about these rivets, but okay. And this will just kind of feed through the bottom, come out through the back, and plug right in there, hopefully. I'm sure. Not sure yet, but it looks like where it might be going. Okay, so now we've completed that. Now they suggest mounting the actual universal multi-purpose sensor mount. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and skip that. I'm going to keep going. I've already connected that. See, install the small idler wheels in the front of the frame. So we have to install these in the front. Okay, so I'm going to flip this upside down. This is the front portion. But then to install this with some of the axles. So here are the axles that came with it. Now this was included inside the tank tread kit. So we're installing that. And we're putting in the two end caps. We're taking the two smaller ones, putting them in the front with the axle, and then we're just kind of putting these in there. Like so.